check out our streaming schedule for this week. We've got tons of content in terms of the NFL and college football, as we're going live just about every single day this week. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single moment where we go live. And now, on with our feature presentation. October 6, 2024. It's week 5 of the NFL season, and we've got a big game on our hands over in Cincinnati, as in this AFC North rivalry game, the Cincinnati Bengals are taking on the Baltimore Ravens. For the Ravens, this is a massive game for them. After starting the season 0-2, they find themselves back at 500, looking to get above 500 for the first time all season, and looking to get a critical division win. If you win this game, there's a chance based on how the other results play out across the division that you'll be in first place. If you don't win this game, however, then you put yourself a bit behind the 8 ball, especially considering some of the games coming up on the schedule. To get above 500, Baltimore needs a win here in the worst way. And speaking of needs, something that you need to do right now if you love the history of the NFL and love this sport is hit that like button down below, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we post on the channel. We post every single day on here about the weird and the wacky history of the NFL, and we have a live stream every single game. So if you like that sort of stuff, then this is the place for you. Thanks in advance for your support as we try and hit 70,000 subscribers. As for how this game was going, late in the first half, the Ravens find themselves up 14-9 with the ball at their own 25-yard line. On 2nd and 10, Lamar Jackson gives it to Hill, who doesn't get anything on the play. Maybe he gets half a yard. Now, the clock is stopped with 49 seconds left after Cincinnati burns their first timeout, which brings up third.
It's interesting. Baltimore is actually the one that called the timeout.
Wait. Timeout. The Ravens call timeout? The Ravens call timeout. But why? Why would they do that? Now, if you don't get this third down, you give it back to the Bengals with time for them to do something. If you don't convert this low percentage play on 3rd and long, you just gave Cincinnati an extra possession. This is going to backfire badly, I can already tell.
3rd down and 10. Rosengarten shoves off the pressure. Jackson deep and incomplete.
Yeah, I think we all saw that coming. This is already a dumb decision, but just for fun, let's see if the Bengals did anything with this and made this decision even more laughable than it already was.
Moss the bat, Karras the snap. Moss the block. Burrow going deep, he's got him! Touchdown!
Shocker, big surprise. Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before I break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking in-depth look decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something look awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this can possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of an NFL head coach. And for this one, we're going to take a look at the mind of Baltimore Ravens head coach John Harbaugh. Harbaugh's in-game management skills leave a lot to be desired. And even though the Ravens are winning, he is drawing the anger and the attention of fans, and rightfully so, for how he's managed games as of late. Perhaps no team is worse at holding on to leads in the 4th quarter than the Ravens, and that's due to poor in-game management. Harbaugh has botched the clock and has botched many obvious situations in recent years, including a decision last year against the Rams where he threw the challenge flag on a scoring play and said he did it intentionally instead of just calling a timeout, because that makes sense. You can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. And this awful timeout was just one of the many things working against Harbaugh in recent years and his inabilities as a head coach. The man may have gotten the Ravens to the promised land before, but decisions like this do not bode well for his future and for the team's future. So with that being said, let's take a look at why calling timeout on your own 25-yard line to bring up 3rd and 10 late in the first half with a running clock is a really bad idea. And yes, I know that the graphics say that it was 3rd and 9, but it was 3rd and 10 according to all the official NFL statisticians. At the very least, it was 3rd and a very long 9. I get that you want to score, believe me. I get that you want a chance to extend your lead, especially seeing as you don't get the ball to start the second half. You want to get 3 points on this drive and make it an 8-point game. Or maybe with an offensive breakdown, even make it a 2-score game. Having said that, there's being aggressive and there's being stupid. And this is one of those moments where you're just outright stupid. If the clock stopped on 2nd down after an incomplete pass, that's one thing. I'm not going to criticize you whatsoever with all your timeouts and with a 2-time MVP quarterback with 52 seconds left for trying to move the ball down the field and score, especially seeing as Cincinnati has all their timeouts, and they can stop the clock if you want to be super conservative. But you've got to know the situation here after running the ball. You just have to know. Zach Taylor on the other sideline was not going to call a timeout. If he was, he would have called it with 52 seconds left, and would have called it right as Justice Hill was brought down to the 25-yard line. So you had a chance, by not calling the timeout, to guarantee the fact that you were going to go into the halftime break with the lead. You could have gone into the locker room up by 5, and you could have prevented the Bengals from ever touching the football again for the remainder of the second quarter. However, you called timeout right away on a running clock after a 1-yard gain to bring up 3rd and long? Do you understand how high risk that is for not a ton of reward? If you let the clock run down, the best case scenario and the worst case scenario are exactly the same. You go into the half up by 1 score. If you call timeout here, you need to get the 3rd down. Plain and simple, you need to get the 3rd down conversion. You need to get 10 yards on one play when your offense has only gotten that yardage once in its last 11 plays and twice in its last 18 plays. 10 yards is a fair amount of yardage to get. Obviously, it's not impossible, but the odds are definitely not in your favor. And on 3rd and 10, I'm giving the edge to the defense. If the timeout pays off and you get the 1st down, all right, you're at the 35-yard line. You still need to get another 25 yards to even have a chance at extending your lead, which again, is not going to be easy. It is by no means a guarantee. This is not as though you were calling your timeout in plus territory, where a 1st down could legitimately give you a chance at scoring a touchdown on the drive, and where the other team, if they get it back, won't try doing anything, since they'll be pinned pretty deep in their own territory. So a 1st down guarantees you nothing, and this play in general is not likely to work out. I'm not saying that you run the ball or play conservative in that regard whatsoever, but what I am saying is that you have to recognize this, and recognize that there is a very high chance that you end up giving the ball back to the opposition and do not get the 3rd down that you need to pick up. If you let the clock run down to, let's say, 20 seconds, and then you take a timeout where you call a play, that's the best of both worlds scenario. You give yourself time to call 3 plays to potentially get into field goal range. You have timeouts to use the middle of the field. And at the same time, if it doesn't work out, and you don't get the 10 yards you need on 3rd down, it's not a big deal. You'd be punting with 15 seconds left, the punt would take about 8 seconds, and when the other team gets the ball back in their own territory somewhere around the 25, they just take a knee and go into the half, since they'd only have time for 1 play, and it would be very tough and very risky to try and do anything themselves. That's what any smart coach does in that spot. That's what any coach with a functioning brain does in that spot. Either take it into the half, or give yourself a chance to extend your lead with 2 chunk plays without any risk involved outside of the usual things that can happen on an offensive play. However, what John Harbaugh decided to do, and what the man been watching this whole time decided to do, was absolutely asinine. Because now, let's say that you don't get the 1st down. And we're not talking about 3rd and short, mind you. We're talking about 3rd and 10, when the Ravens had gotten 10 yards once in their last 11 plays. When the 6 plays on this drive thus far went for a combined 10 yards, and when the last 2 drives have been 7 plays for 8 yards. If there was a Vegas table with those odds, you're getting the heck out of there. Now, you'll be giving the Bengals the ball back with about 40 seconds left with all of their timeouts, or at minimum, 2 of their timeouts left depending on whether the clock is running after the 3rd down play. And you'll be giving one of the best quarterbacks in football, and a passing game known for deep shots with guys like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, a chance to do something absolutely electric and get into field goal range, or even score a touchdown when they can use the entire field and when they have plenty of time to work with considering their timeout situation. Is that really worth it? Harbaugh, is that really worth it? That's not even risky. That's just outright stupid. Calling a timeout after the 1st down play gets stuffed to bring up 2nd down? Fine. Calling a timeout with 20 seconds left on the game clock, so you still have a chance at scoring if you get a chunk play, but you're not screwed giving it back to the opposition if you don't get it? Fine. But doing this, the worst case scenario here, the absolute worst thing you could have done, calling timeout right away, not even letting the Bengals burn a timeout, So they'll have an extra one to use if they want to go over the middle of the field if you give the ball back to them, and giving the other team an extra possession that they otherwise would not have had? Come on. I always say that to win a football game, you need to score more points than your opponent, which, duh. However, you score more points based on possessions. The only way that you can score, generally speaking, is if you have the football. And right now, you've got the lead, and you've got the football. Why let the other team have a chance to score when you can manage the clock and manage your timeouts in a way that still allows you time to score without putting yourself in a high-risk situation? Why give the other team an extra possession, allowing them to not only score, but allowing them to score with the ball coming out of the halftime break? It just doesn't make sense to me. And after the game, Harbaugh was asked about his awful decision to take the timeout, and was asked just what the heck he was thinking. Folks, get ready for this explanation, because this one is a doozy. Because according to Harbaugh, he was wrong to take the timeout and was definitely over-aggressive. He wanted to have that one back. But the reason he did it was because he felt as though his team was going to need to score a good number of points to win the game. So, let me get this straight. You felt that the only way to win the game was to score more points than your opponent. So you decided to call a timeout to ensure the fact that if it failed, you'd be giving the ball back to your opponent with time to score. While you were freaking winning the game? You do realize it's not like basketball with an Elam ending, right? If you have more points than your opponent, you win. Right now, you have more points than your opponent. Right now, you are leading the game. If you think that this game is going to be one where the Bengals will score points every time they touch the ball, then here's an idea. When you're winning, if you don't have to do it, don't give the Bengals a chance to touch the freaking ball. This is like me saying that in golf on a par 3, I decide to go directly for the flag, even though there's a giant water trap in front of me, because I didn't want to go for the safe landing zone on the green to set myself up for par. Because I had a feeling with the way the course was playing that you're going to need a lot of birdies to win. So I wanted to be over-aggressive. Meanwhile, I'm up by 2 strokes and it's the 17th hole. Harbaugh's logic just doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up. If he genuinely thought that the Bengals were going to score a ton of points, and so he decided to do something that gave the Bengals a chance of scoring points that they otherwise would not have had, and to do it on a super low percentage play, mind you, I don't even know what to say at that point. I just don't. And when it comes to this team behind me right here in the Baltimore Ravens, head coach John Harbaugh is rapidly approaching Mike McCarthy territory, where he is constantly making bad in-game management decisions and seems to make the wrong decisions at the worst possible time. Remember last year in that game against the Indianapolis Colts? The Ravens had the lead with about 2:03 left or 2:04 left, and they were getting the ball back off of a safety punt by the Colts. Now, all the Ravens had to do was return the punt a few yards, or not even a few yards, just kill some clock, just kill any bit of clock whatsoever, take it down to the 2-minute warning, and the game is over. The Ravens can run out the clock and win the game. Instead, Harbaugh tells Zay Flowers to fair catch the football for some reason, thereby giving the Colts an extra timeout to work with, and then the Ravens give it back to the Colts for no reason whatsoever, and the Colts end up winning the game in overtime. You can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. And this was yet another awful decision by Harbaugh, where he decided to let the other team have the ball and have an extra possession for no reason at all. The Ravens did win this game. In spite of Harbaugh's best efforts, they did end up winning this game, but this play should have mattered a ton. It took an Evan McPherson missed field goal in overtime, and it took some aggressive, maybe downright stupid coaching by Zach Taylor with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter for the Ravens to have a shot at winning this one. The Ravens never should have been in that spot in the first place. They should have won the game in regulation and should have been up. So what do we learn from all of this? There's a fine line between being aggressive and being stupid. And John Harbaugh was well over the line with this decision. If you're so worried about the other team scoring more points than you, and scoring when they have the ball, and you have the lead and don't have to give them the ball back, and are in a position where you are more likely than not to give them the ball back, then guess what? You probably shouldn't do the thing that gives them a chance at getting the ball back. If your strategy completely contradicts the situation of the game and how it's been going, then you need to reevaluate your strategy. And if your goal is to be ahead at the halftime break, and you're literally ahead just before the halftime break, then don't call the game in a way that gives you a chance of not going into the halftime break with the lead. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Be sure to like and subscribe if you have not done so already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And check out my other channels, JG8 for the history of college football, JG7 for the history of baseball, and JG9 News, where we talk about all things happening in the NFL. Join me every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we'll play live NFL trivia for cash prizes. And make sure to join me live, as we're on stream just about every single day. And thanks to all our Patreon members and our YouTube members for helping out the channel. See how you become a member and show your support financially in the description down below.